Hi, everybody. Okay, so welcome to your Wake and Bake News at 7 p.m. I'm your host, Moxie. And this is my YouTube channel, Mox News. Thanks so much for tuning in. We do this every Monday through Friday at 7 p.m. Pacific Time, in case you're new. And what we have here is a lovely bacon turkey cheeseburger, fresh off the grill. So I am going to eat it while it's still warm, and I'm going to play this clip for you of Joe Biden talking about his plan, his Rescue America plan, while I wolf down this burger. So there you go, Joe Biden and his plan to rescue America.
All right. Well, we are following breaking news right now as President-elect Biden is rolling out a new $1.9 trillion stimulus plan.
The president-elect is speaking now about that plan, so let's listen in.
During this pandemic, millions of Americans, through no fault of their own, have lost the dignity and respect that comes with a job and a paycheck. Millions of Americans never thought they'd be out of work. Many of them never even envisioned the idea. Are facing eviction, waiting for hours in their cars to feed their families as they drive up to a food bank. Millions have kept their jobs but have seen their hours and paychecks reduced, barely hanging on as well. That's happening today in the United States of America. Just as in the midst of the dark winter of this pandemic, as cases, hospitalizations, and deaths spike at record levels, there is real pain overwhelming the real economy. One where people rely on paychecks, not their investments, to pay for their bills and their meals and their children's needs. You won't see this pain if your scorecard is how things are going on Wall Street. But you will see it very clearly if you examine what the twin crises of a pandemic and this sinking economy have laid bare. The growing divide between those few people at the very top who are doing quite well in this economy and the rest of America. Just since this pandemic began, the wealth of the top 1% of the nation has grown roughly $1.5 trillion since the end of last year, 4 times the amount for the entire bottom 50% of American wage earners. Some 18 million Americans are still relying on unemployment insurance. Some 400,000 small businesses have permanently closed their doors. And it's not hard to see that we're in the middle of the once-in-several-generations economic crisis with a once-in-several-generations public health crisis. The crisis of deep human suffering is in plain sight, and there's no time to waste. We have to act, and we have to act now. This is what economists are telling us. More importantly, it's what the values we hold dear in our hearts as Americans are telling us. A growing chorus of top economists agree that the moment of crisis, in this moment of crisis, with interest rates at historic lows, we cannot afford inaction. It's not just that smart fiscal investments, including deficit spending, are more urgent than ever. It's that the return on these investments in jobs, racial equity, will prevent long-term economic damage, and the benefits will far surpass the cost. A growing number of top economists has shown even our debt situation will be more stable, not less stable, if we seize this moment with vision and purpose. And so tonight, I'd like to talk to you about our way forward. A 2-step plan of rescue and recovery. A 2-step plan to build a bridge to the other side of the crisis we face to a better, stronger, more secure America. Tonight, I'll lay out my first step, the American Rescue Plan, that will tackle the pandemic and get direct financial assistance and relief to Americans who need it the most. Next month, my first appearance before a joint session of Congress, I will lay out my Build Back Better recovery plan. It'll make historic investments in infrastructure, that Build Back Better plan. Infrastructure, manufacturing, innovation, research and development, and clean energy. Investments in a caregiving economy and in skills and training needed by our workers to be able to compete and win in the global economy of the coming years. Moody's, an independent Wall Street firm, said my approach will create more than 18 million good-paying jobs. Our rescue and recovery plan is a path forward with both seriousness of purpose and a clear plan, with transparency and accountability, with a call for unity that is equally necessary. And unity is not some pie-in-the-sky dream. It's a practical step to getting the things we have to get done as a country get done together. As I said when it passed in December, the bipartisan COVID-19 relief package was a very important first step. And I'm grateful for the Democrats, Republicans, and independent members of Congress who came together to get it done. But I said at the time, it's just a down payment. We need more action, more bipartisanship, and we need to move quickly. We need to move fast. Our rescue plan starts aggressively in order to speed up our national COVID-19 response. The vaccines offer so much hope, and we're grateful to the scientists and researchers and everyone who participated in the clinical trials. We're also grateful for the rigorous review and testing that has led to millions of people around the world already being vaccinated safely. But the vaccine rollout in the United States has been a dismal failure thus far. Tomorrow, I will lay out our vaccination plan to correct course and meet our goal of 100 million shots at the end of my first 100 days as president. This will be one of the most challenging operational efforts we have ever undertaken as a nation. We'll have to move heaven and earth to get more people vaccinated, to create more places for them to get vaccinated, to mobilize more medical teams to get shots in people's arms, to increase vaccine supply, and to get it out the door as fast as possible. We'll also do everything we can to keep our educators and students safe, to safely reopen a majority of our K-8 schools by the end of the first 100 days. We can do this if we give the school districts, the schools themselves, the communities, the states, the clear guidance they need, as well as the resources they need, that they can't afford right now because of the economic dilemma they're in. That means more testing and transportation, additional cleaning and sanitizing services in those schools, protective equipment and ventilation systems in those schools. We need to make sure that workers who have COVID-19 symptoms are quarantined, and those who need to take care of their family members with COVID-19 symptoms should be able to stay home from work and still get paid. This will reduce the spread of the virus and make sure workers get the support they need to maintain their families. But we need about $400 billion in funding from Congress to make all of what I just said happen. It's a great deal, but I'm convinced we are ready to get this done. The very health of our nation is at stake. Our rescue plan also includes immediate relief to Americans hardest hit and most in need. We will finish the job of getting a total of $2,000 in cash relief to people who need it the most. The $600 already appropriated is simply not enough. You just have to choose between paying rent and putting food on the table. Even for those who've kept their jobs, these checks are really important. You see, if you're an American worker making $40,000 a year with less than $400 in savings, maybe you've lost hours, or maybe you're doing fewer shifts, driving a truck or caring for the kids or the elderly. You're out there putting your life on the line to work during this pandemic and worried every week that you get sick, lose your job, or worse. $2,000 is going to go a long way to ease that pain. We'll also provide more peace of mind for struggling families by extending unemployment insurance beyond the end of March for millions of workers. That means that 18 million Americans currently relying on unemployment benefits while they look for work can count on these checks continuing to be there. Plus, there will be a $400 per week supplement so people can make ends meet. This gets money quickly into the...
If you're just joining us, we've been listening to President-elect Joe Biden talk about his new COVID stimulus plan.
Yeah, he's talking about a $1.9 trillion plan. We'll outline some of the big highlights from his remarks just now after this break. We'll be back.
Just before the break, we were listening to President-elect Joe Biden talk about his $1.9 trillion economic rescue package, and it's being billed as the American Rescue Plan.
Yeah, and here's a look at some of the big points from President-elect Biden's plan. Again, called American Rescue Plan, as Jamie mentioned, it will be a heavy lift from Congress. The $1.9 trillion relief package includes additional $1,400 stimulus checks to those who qualify, a $400 weekly unemployment boost through September for those out of work, and additional aid for businesses, state and local governments, schools, and colleges.
Man, I hope you guys are on that government dole because $400 a week sounds pretty good to me. Joe Biden's gonna rescue America with $400 a week for everyone. You get $1,400 and you get $1,400. Man, if I had $400 a week, I could buy so much fucking weed with it. I wonder how many drug addicts they're creating by giving them all this extra money. You get your unemployment plus $400 a week and nothing to do on top of it. So go find something to use up all your time. Anybody want to waste some time? You know what I'm saying. All right. So again, thanks so much for tuning in. My name's Mike. This is my YouTube page, Mox News, and this is your Wake and Bake News at 7 p.m. We are just about to do the baking part. If anybody else would care to join me, simply follow me and do exactly as you see. I'm feeling much better now. Big fat bacon turkey cheeseburger. Oh my gosh. And a nice fat dab. What more can a guy ask for? Life is good. Oh wait, and you get $1,400, and you get $1,400, and you get $1,400. Fuck yeah. Fuck yeah. Team America. Fuck yeah. All right, so I am here, and you are here, and we are we, and we are all together. See how we run, see how we run, see how we... If anybody wants to call, the number is right there on the screen. I'm sure you can see it. I mean, you may not be able to see the chat. You may not be able to do this. You may not be able to click the links to leave a donation. No donations this week. 0. In case anybody wants. And I think we've done pretty good work this week, so you know. Seditious, very seditious work. Like pigs in the sky, see how they fly. Let's see, where are we at now? Oh, right. The number is right there on the motherfucking screen. And this is a call-in show. Otherwise, I just sit here and sing and take bong hits all night long. Nobody wants to see that, I don't think. I mean, we could do that. It does sound pretty good. But But really, it's about you guys' opinions, you guys' voices. It's what I love. I love hearing your guys' opinions, you guys' voices. Hello, caller.
Are you using drugs?
Every chance I get.
Well, to answer your question, my friend, about how many drug addicts this COVID-19 relief has created, I got a personal story. I rented a room to a guy. You know, I got lots of rooms here. I got as many as 5. Usually I rent out 3. Well, let's see. I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, I got as many as 5, and I usually just rent out 3. And I rented one of my rooms to a guy 2 months ago, right? The dude said, yeah, well, I have no problem paying rent, man. I have an inheritance. And I said, you sure you can pay rent? And he said, yeah, I got an inheritance. And no problem. I got like $15,000 in the bank. I said, okay, all right. And so the dude, he paid rent first month, and he paid rent the second month. And then, he was kind of shady, and he didn't pay rent the third month. And then he was giving me all these stories. Oh, somebody hacked my bank account. And they hacked my phone.
Yeah, because that happens every day.
Right, yeah. And I finally, after weeks and weeks of trying to be patient and dealing with the guy, offered to help him with his. I said, well, just go to the bank and, go to every bank has a fraud division, man. You just go to the bank, you talk to them, and, well, I tried that, but they won't even talk to me, blah, blah, blah. So I said, I'll help you. No, my dad's helping me. He gives me all these fucking excuses.
Yeah.
Then I finally fucking get down to the nitty-gritty of it when I catch him, because he became really scarce for some strange reason. And it turns out he did get $15,000, but it was from the state of California COVID relief UI, unemployment insurance.
Huh.
So and then I find out, he said, you could do it too, man. I find out that all these homeless people are scamming the state of California, saying that they were employed. Yeah, I was making $47,000 a year, and then they get like a $15,000 back check, for the whole year. So, yeah, a lot of people, and this is one of those guys you just said. I wonder how many drug addicts are created by the COVID relief. Well, I got a personal story on that one, and so I got.
Well, with nothing to do and a regular flow of money, you better find something to do, because otherwise you're gonna be in trouble.
Well, if you don't know how to operate in life, you can get an inheritance or a big motherfucking check, and you'll go through that check really quick, and you'll just be another dumb fuck lowlife on the street with no money within a couple of months, because you don't know how to handle money. You probably got drug problems. This guy was a drinker. He drank fucking, I don't know, 500 Bud Lights a day or something like that.
Yeah, wow.
So, he was a drinker, and I find I luckily only got ripped off for about $300, so I made out pretty good on that one. But
could be worse for sure.
Say what?
Could be worse for sure.
Oh yeah. So I got him out of here, and I'm cool. But I did find out about this scam, and some of my other friends, they're throwing money around right and left, and I know they're living in a fucking motorhome. I said, well, where the fuck did you get all this money? And I finally found out about this state of California UI program, and
I'm applying tonight.
Yeah, well, you can use my address, Mike.
Awesome.
Yeah. So, thank God for Joe Biden saving us from fucking
rescuing America, man.
Yeah, man, I feel so hopeful, man. I'm from the government. I'm here to help.
Right.
Fuck. So
it's so weird. It's so weird with this Washington D.C. Like the election is like this whole scam thing, right? And then they have like basically no inauguration, right? It's not like they can't have an inauguration because they're afraid the whole country will fucking melt down and come to Washington D.C. say fuck you and fuck your scam election. So we have to fucking put. They say that there's more National Guard troops right now in Washington D.C. than Afghanistan and and Iraq combined.
That's pretty amazing. It's like, and I know being a Trump supporter, I as much as I criticize Trump, he did win the election. So I know because I monitor all of these surviving YouTube channels and Twitter accounts and stuff, the people that haven't been purged yet, that there's lots of people that are still somehow trying to figure out a way where they can expose the election fraud and Joe Biden and his Chi-Com, hate to sound like Alex Jones, but his Chi-Com connections and all that stuff in it. For me, man, it's a done deal. We're stuck with Biden. I don't know any way out of this other than revolution.
We're not stuck with Biden. Biden is going to fucking get the COVID in the first 4 months of his presidency, and he's going to be, my brain doesn't work right anymore, so Camilla's going to take over.
Thank God we'll finally have a vagina for a president.
Hey, I wish we had a woman president. I really do. And I can explain why very clearly. But I certainly don't wish it was Camilla Harris,
She's not a woman. She's a reptilian from the Andromeda Galaxy, man. She doesn't even have a real vagina. It's a holographic vagina. And Willie Brown can testify to that.
No. So all I'm saying is, I would love to have a woman president. And the reason I'd like to have a woman president is because, and again, not somebody like Hillary Clinton, who's going to step in and act like she has to prove that she's as big a man as all the other presidents who came before her. Somebody like Tulsi Gabbard, who's been there, and when it comes time to send our soldiers off to a fucking shithole that nobody ever heard of, just to make rich fucks more rich, she might think twice about sending her own children, about sending other people's children. I don't think people like George W. Bush think twice. People like Barack Obama, they don't think, this might be my kids. But I bet if it was Michelle Obama, she'd be like, you know what? I don't want my kids going there, and I don't want my kids going there. I don't want anybody else's kids going there.
Well, look at these presidents we've had in my lifetime. You had Nixon, right? Well, Kennedy was sleeping around with every fucking pretty leg and shoe leather. Nixon might not have been aware of the Watergate shit, but he sure was hard on John Lennon, and he sure did bury the Watergate shit. And he hated the Black Panthers and the anti-war movement, and I am not a crook. And then Reagan, he does the old switcheroo, the Iran-Contra bullshit. And then you got George Bush, I want a kinder, gentler machine gun nation. And then you got Clinton after that, right?
Yeah.
With the blue stain on the dress, and I did not have sex with that reptile. And then you got little baby Bush is like, I can hear you. Can you hear me? I can hear you. We're gonna get these guys, and that's boom. There was a new world order right there. It was that, let's go over and kill these brown people, and they're all bad, and boom, 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 and our economy's booming. Let's make more bombs and planes. And then Obama, hope and change. I'm the drone king. I'm good at killing people. And then Trump, these are all clowns, every single one of them. And Trump, unfortunately, seemed to be, with all his flaws, possibly the best of them.
It's so sad, man. It's so sad.
Yeah, that's America. And it's like the revolving door of American kabuki theaters. Like, hey, bring on the clowns. The Frank Sinatra song, bring on the clowns.
Yeah.
It's
There's got to be clowns. Go ahead.
That's, I knew something was wrong when I was a kid. It's like, man, everybody's uptight. How come I have to have a number to exist in America? And what about the law and the police? And I kind of ignored it and became a punk rocker and art rocker and just, oh wow, I'm a swinging dick, and there's girls all over the place, and I don't have to pay my parents, and then you get married and you get a family, and I gotta work all the time, but at least I got a wife, and it's like she takes all your money, and then your wife ends up being crazy, and you fucking go through all these psychological. It's like
trauma.
A circle. You got to revisit all the areas where you keep fucking up until you stop fucking up. It must, I've never had a drug addiction except for nicotine. I quit cocaine like that. Just one day, boom! I ran out of money, quit cocaine, and I had no withdrawal symptoms or nothing. So, so my art, what I create. Three-dimensional art and five-dimensional art. Music is five-dimensional, by the way, because you're involving time and the fifth dimension, which is ether. You're channeling from the fifth dimension. So that's why I call music five-dimensional. Architecture is three-dimensional. But my art saved me and saved me from falling into the American citizen trap. Is like, God bless America, apple pie hot dogs, and salute the flag, and the presidents wouldn't do that to us, and I was lucky enough to be this crazy rebel guy. And when I found, and I was always in favor of the working class, I was always in favor of the working man, because that's what I did. It's like, okay, you're not going to kill me, I'll just work harder. And I did that my whole life, and somehow made it through all my stupid mistakes and all the injustice in America with my heart intact. And then I learned later than most people about 9/11 and all of my compassion for the working class I directed towards the injustice of the governing systems. And so I had to learn about the systems and this and that. And this latest thing, this is like, okay, we got this poopy, pissy pants Joe Biden, who's our president-elect from a non-existent office of the president-elect, and he's going to save us all. I didn't catch that part about the $400 a week. Did he actually say that?
Yeah, $400 a week for people that have unemployment. They get an additional $400 a week.
Wow, my son will be happy about that. But this is a crazy. There was a coup that happened in America, and we tried to expose it, and now you got 15,000 National Guard sleeping in the Capitol, and there's not going to be any assault on the Capitol. It's all a psyop, a media psyop. They're just
Hey, shush! Don't tell everybody.
Well, we want a couple people to wake up. At least we could play poker together or something like that while Joe Biden takes over the universe.
A media psyop. Look, it's crazy. I mean, this thing with again, what I see, so that we're clear, is I see everything perfectly in place for a giant false flag operation right now. All the lawmakers are secure. They don't have to worry about. They can pass their Patriot Act too, no problem. Right now, perfect positioning for a giant event. And I don't say that to scare you. I say it so that if it does happen, I'm not saying it's going to, but if it does, that you remember. Mock said, what was it Mock said? What did he say? Oh yeah, everything was in place for this.
So, I'm wondering, I have no idea, what are they going to try to do? Blow up a train and blame it on Trumpsters? Or, do you have any ideas about what the type of false flag?
No, I have no idea anything. I have no intel that anything's going to happen. All I know is that I see everything perfectly in place for it to happen right now.
Now, you've been doing this a long time, Mike, and I think you were awake before I was. I was just a working class hero, literally. Just this guy, crazy guy, worked hard, open heart, not too bright. Yeah. And so I find myself, this year especially, getting just slightly more apathetic. It's like, okay, what's next? I'm just going to smoke my weed and fucking watch the show. Oh, they killed 1,000 people in Florida or whatever the next tragedy is. It's like, I mean, the theft of the election was such a big deal to me, and the COVID-19 was such a big deal to me, and the fraud involved in both of those things. One is a global thing, and the other thing is an American thing. But I find myself getting just slightly apathetic, like, oh, well, fucking, we're stuck with Biden, and then we'll be stuck with Kamala Harris, and then it's like, then the fucking Anunnaki are going to come, and as long as I got my marijuana, I'll be okay, you know?
Well, I mean, that's what I always say. I mean, just stay cool. You know, marijuana helps with that a lot, and we'll get through it, because we always do. There isn't another option. So I get the apathy thing. You know, I mean, it's like.
Do you find yourself getting a little bit apathetic, or are you just used to it so much?
No, I look, it's really bad right now. It's really bad, everywhere. I see it everywhere. Me and the dogs were walking today, and we walked through this, private school. It's a private high school, and they have like a really nice cross-country track that's all through the woods and stuff, and they keep it groomed really well. So we go and walk that track. I can take the dogs off the leash because it's all fenced off and everything, and I clean up after them. So, and the people there are nice to me, but I think that's mostly because I'm nice, you know. We were walking through there, and there's like a retirement community, or like kind of an old person's kind of home there, you know.
Condos.
Yeah. And there's always old people walking through the parking lot. They don't walk through the cross country course, because there's all kinds of up and down and stepping over stuff and shit, you know. But they always walk through the parking lot, big giant parking lot for where all the kids park for school. And there's this one guy, and he was just sitting there by himself under a tree, and he just kind of had his face in his hands, you know. And I felt really bad just looking at him. And I walked over by him. I said, another beautiful Northwest afternoon. That's what another perfect Northwest afternoon, huh? And he said, yeah, this is a really good one. And the dogs went up to him, and I could tell that brightened his day, you know. So. It's not just you, or, you know, I mean, I see it everywhere, and it's on top of the apathy thing. People are terrified, right? They're so afraid. So one of the ways to avoid the fear is kind of just to give up. You know, it's like, oh, whatever, I don't really care, and then the fear isn't so much anymore. You know.
Right. And so you know, the crackdown on free speech. That should be existing on all forms of internet traffic, you know, there's going to be a huge backlash. There already is a huge backlash, but it hasn't, other than the losing $51 billion, it hasn't really occurred yet. You know, the world leaders, you know, Italy and Germany and Marcon and Uganda, sure, they said some stuff, and the stock market fell, and those companies lost a lot of money, but the public itself hasn't really responded or formulated a response to, like, how do we get out from underneath the thumb of the technocrats, you know, the guy that runs Twitter and the idiot motherfucker that runs Facebook and Google, and how come those people, those companies are headed by people, how come they get to control information, you know, and how come Jeff Bezos has just a giant contract with the CIA, and how come this is okay? Well, what about, how does this conflict with the Constitution and the First Amendment? And so that dialogue is starting, but there's no solutions yet. I really don't want to drop the dialogue of regaining free speech on the internet. That's super important. If you don't have that, everybody's going to end up like my parents or other people's parents, or maybe other people's relatives. It's like, oh, what's on CNN, oh, there's a big tragedy happening, the government will save us, and the government caused the fucking tragedy in the first place. So, yeah, that's a really important issue. But, the bioweapons, the COVID-19, it's a bioweapon, and the free speech on the internet, and the fact that they could steal an American election right out in the open, and then they need to bring the National Guard in to protect them from a non-existent threat. There's no threat. Nobody's going to go to the Capitol. You don't need 15,000 National Guard. It's all show. It's American kabuki theater. But I'm waiting for the backlash and the increased dialogue and the public dialogue about the internet shutdown and what to do about it.
I think there's a lot of chatter going on about censorship right now. A lot of people are talking about censorship, and that there's too much control over the social media networks as far as being able to censor people's speech that they don't like.
Well, I would bet you Joe Biden is going to avoid that discussion, because that's how he got elected in the first place, was by having either being in the pocket of big tech or having big tech as allies. Either way you want to look at it, that's how Joe Biden got elected.
He's certainly not against censorship. That can be obvious to anybody.
Yeah, well, that's what's going on. Meanwhile, we are humans on planet Earth. We are spirits living in an animal body. We are divine incarnations of God,
we
so to
are
speak.
Spirits living in a material world. Our spirits.
And we have to live up to our potential and try to live up to and try to continue to enjoy our physical life if we can, and take care of each other. So a show like yours actually provides a little bit of insight and hope to people that some of which might be hopeless. I go day by day. One day I might be pissed off because I got fucked up by this situation, and another day I might be happy because I overcame that situation. And I really seek to be not so vulnerable to emotional ups and downs. It's like I should be happy even on the bad days, So
well, you should. It's not so much you should be happy on the bad days as you should be able to find some good, something to enjoy if you really want to let yourself do that. Because I find that most people choose not to enjoy. They just want to focus on the things that piss them off instead of focusing on the things that are actually right there for them to enjoy in this moment.
Yeah, I'm guilty. My hands up. I'm guilty of that shit too. But you provide a great service, Mike, and you're a good example of a guy that is. Your live stream just went down a bit. There you go. Came back. Probably my computer. You're a good example of a guy that you're adding to life, and you're adding to life in such a consistent way over such a long period of time that I really appreciate you and what you do, man. You're a good guy, and you provide an excellent service.
It's been a really interesting ride. I tell you, in Seattle, back in the day when we were making TV, I would have people come up to me and shake my hand and say, I with like tears in their eyes, and say, I have to thank you, saved my marriage. I have no idea who the fuck you are, but yeah, right on. That's awesome, dude. But that's the kind of experience that I've had. So.
Yeah, well, they say there's an old saying. I can't remember where it came from, but sometimes you meet your destiny on the road you took to avoid it.
Mm-hmm.
Like you kind of fell into this whole thing accidentally because you were in a hotel across the street from the very studio you started in,
Mm-hmm.
and so you met your destiny on. You took advantage of this wonderful. You had a dream or an idea, and you took advantage of what God threw into your lap, and you've done really well, dude. It's a great story. It's a success story.
I'm quite surprised how long I've been able to do this run. Where I'm like, trying to do the right thing by people and like existing on basically nothing. I'm really, really surprised how long this run has lasted, because it started in 1996 and it really hasn't changed at all. It's just this never ending, just continue to try and step up and say the right thing and make sure that people hear, because it's really weird. I was thinking about it earlier about the news and the way that they slant things, right? I mean, you see all these kids, right? They talk about schools being out and how hard it is on the children, and like you see all these stories about these kids, and they're like, "Oh man, I wish we could go back to school. I want to go back to school so bad." Blah, blah, blah. I mean, where's the fucking kids? It's like, fuck yeah, school's out forever, baby. I mean, because those kids exist, but we never see those kids. We never see people like, on the side where we stand. We always like, oh, well, we have this media spin that we have to do. So, yeah, everybody's against the protesters. Everybody understands the protesters are evil, Fucking, everybody doesn't understand anything. Everybody's got different perspectives, but the news always just is consistent with everybody that they bring on, It's disgusting, really.
One thing I know is we can't trust Joe Biden. He's not a good guy. He's a neocon. He's an absolute neocon, and he will start another war somehow. I don't know where, I don't know when, but he's not your fucking friend. He's not the good guy from Scranton, Ohio. He's a fucking snake, so I know that much. I'm that smart. I know neither.
Well, he's a fucking professional politician who had the chance, who's had the last 40 plus years to make a difference in people's lives, and doesn't seem to have done anything about it. And that should tell you everything you need to know about Joe Biden. I mean, you have all this time to make a difference, and all you do is walk around groping women and shit. Fuck you.
And I think he was. The two guys that were that were the big names in the Clarence Thomas hearings decades ago was Arlen Specter and Joe Biden. And I think Joe Biden was the guy hammering Clarence Thomas, and on the side of Anita Hill, and Arlen Specter was the guy hammering Anita Hill. High-tech lynching and all that stuff. So, I mean, that's the only thing you can give, Biden any, it's not even credit. That's the only thing he was actually involved in, where his name kind of stuck to the matter. And he's just a nobody who got...
he's not a nobody. Again, he's a professional politician who has been in a position of power that could have made a huge difference in people's lives, and chose to be a fucking cunt and just care about himself, keeping a big old fucking goofy shit-eating grin on his face while he groped fucking women and little girls. It's disgusting.
And he took money from both China and Ukraine. So, that has yet to come out. And that's going to come out during his presidency, and I'm all on the side of that. And I don't think we should underestimate the pushback from the right, from the Republicans, on this impeachment and the 4 years of impeachment and the stolen election. These guys are going to get so organized and so vicious, and they're not going to play softball anymore. They're going to expose everything. And unfortunately, that's going to take a lot of time and energy away from fixing the problems of everyday people.
But that is part of fixing the problems, is exposing everything. Because right now it's all fucking, everything is a bunch of fucking lies, and it's it makes it so he can't get anything done.
Yeah, so we're living in interesting times. I agree. That's part of exposing that shit. It would be helping to fix it. Yeah. But we'll see what happens. I'm going to let you go and let somebody else talk. Okay,
I'm going to play another video here, and I got one about the NYPD. There's a huge lawsuit against the NYPD. Did you hear this? For using police brutality tactics to try and squash police brutality protesters. It's hilarious.
Yeah, well, what do you expect? All right, Mike, take care. I'll
Okay, talk to you later. Okay, and that's our buddy, the landlord from Southern California, and I will play a video for you. I want to go get a cup of tea, so I'm going to play a video for you here about the NYPD lawsuit, about NYPD, the New York Police Department, using police brutality against police brutality protesters in very vicious ways. And also, the mayor seems to be involved in this lawsuit also, meaning he's one of the people that helped encourage the violence against protesters. So I thought you guys should see that. I'll be right back with a fresh cup of tea and we'll do a bong hit or something. Or take a phone call. If you want to call, the number's right there on the screen, 805-669-6397. I'll be back in just a sec.
All new tonight, the New York Police Department is facing a major lawsuit aimed at officers' conduct during summer protests in the wake of George Floyd's killing in Minnesota. We saw protests, peaceful and violent, break out in cities across the country. In many instances, officers and protesters clashed, and that includes New York City. And the state's attorney general has filed a lawsuit today, citing dozens of examples of alleged misconduct during those demonstrations. News Nation correspondent Tom Negovin is reviewing the allegations and has the police department's response tonight. Tom?
Yeah, and the union's response as well, Joe. The union that represents the bulk of the NYPD rank and file has a lot to say about this. But tonight, police here are being accused of using police brutality on people who are out to protest that very thing. Scenes like these in the nation's largest city, the police response to protests last spring following the death of George Floyd, leading to an unprecedented lawsuit after a state investigation.
What we found was an egregious abuse of police power, rampant excessive use of force, and leadership unable and unwilling to stop it.
Named as defendants, both New York's mayor and police commissioner. Investigators examining more than 1,300 complaints and pieces of evidence about the NYPD's handling of protesters. Along with reforms, the state wants a monitor to make sure they're carried out, citing as examples excessive use of batons, fist strikes, and pepper spray. This police body cam footage from May 30th appears to show just that. A young man pepper sprayed by an officer who first pulls down his face mask. The man on the video is Andrew Smith.
I was no threat. I was not being aggressive or hostile, but somehow I was still assaulted by the police.
Tonight, the police union is firing back. We will say it again. What we witnessed in June was a failure of New York City's leadership. They sent cops out to police unprecedented protests and violent riots with no plan, no strategy, and no support. They should be forced to answer for the resulting chaos instead of pointing fingers at cops on the streets and ignoring the criminals who attacked us with bricks and firebombs. Joining the state's attorney general in announcing the lawsuit, some of the department's alleged victims, like Rain Valentine, who says he was beaten on the way home from the hospital where he worked and had to go back to get 7 staples to close a gash in his head.
When the beating finally stopped, they left me on the ground with blood streaming down my face.
And Luke Hanna, who claims he was walking away from the protests when he was attacked.
I was struck from behind with a baton. And I touched my head and my hands were covered in blood.
And tonight, New York City Mayor Bill de Blasio has issued a statement saying he's disappointed with the lawsuit, that it will likely only slow down his efforts to reform the NYPD. Live in New York, Tom Negovin, News Nation.
Thank you, Tom. Officers in several departments nationwide are also adjusting to policy changes in the wake of the protests over George Floyd's death. In Minneapolis, the city has overhauled the use of force policy, redefining what force is and how and when it can be used. Under the rules, officers can no longer shoot at moving cars, and they have to document how they tried all reasonable alternatives to de-escalate a situation before turning to force. In Louisville, city leaders placed a ban on no-knock warrants after the death of Breonna Taylor. However, in that case, police say they did announce themselves. High-ranking officers are now the only ones who can approve search warrants. Other reforms include offering housing credits so officers can live in the areas they protect and requiring additional drug testing. And in Portland, voters supported a measure to create a new police oversight board. That group will investigate all misconduct complaints against officers and decide if they need to be punished.
So, again, I think it's pretty obvious, who the enemy of the people is. The police don't seem to be there to protect us, because if they were, they wouldn't want people amongst their ranks that use police brutality on peaceful protesters, because that doesn't protect you. That makes you an enemy of the people. Okay? They wouldn't want people, like doing chokeholds and killing Eric Garner for selling fucking Lucy cigarettes on the street, which they accused him of. There was no real evidence of it. For selling Lucy cigarettes on the street, they put Eric Garner in a chokehold. New York police, Eric Garner in a chokehold, and choked him to death on camera. Anyone can see it. Okay, that's who the police are. That's who they choose to be. It's who they want to be. And the people who are supposed to be, they're supposed to be protecting and serving, deserve better. It's that simple. Hello, caller.
Hey, Mike, it's Dave from New York. How you doing?
Okay, Dave. How about you, man?
It is sad. It's sad. It's sad that we have to talk about this. It's sad that we have to discuss it. It's sad that we have to constantly see pictures of it. It's sad. There's nothing. I mean, I have a lot of optimism. You know me. I'm an optimistic guy. But this, why do we have to constantly keep talking about this when it's obvious that all we have to do is stop being assholes? And it's just, New York it's the epicenter of this fight, regardless of whether anybody agrees with that, or regardless if anybody understands that.
Okay, meaning that it's the epicenter of the police state.
It's the epicenter. What I see New York as is the epicenter of people coming together from all over the world, because there is no city on this planet that has more people from more diverse cultural backgrounds.
There's lots of cities that have lots of diverse people. Okay, when you talk about the police,
yeah, but not New York, not like New York.
When you talk,
no way, not like New York.
Have you ever been to Seattle, dude? Okay, when you talk about the police and not us not having to go through this, and New York being the center of it, the reason New York is the center of it is because New York does shit like stop and frisk, and New York does shit like have headquarters of the CIA located inside the New York Police Department. Completely fucking illegal.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, that's completely fucking illegal. It's criminal for the CIA to do that. Now, and on top of it, okay, so number one, they're stop and frisking people, and then they have this spy organization on top of it, so they're listening to everybody. So, and the spy organization has unlimited funds. They're supposed to be like the watch guards, protecting us, again, protecting the American people, making sure that we're safe, that our rights are secure, and instead, they're teaching the shit-ass fucking New York police how to fucking get through all the fucking, negotiate their way through all the rules and everything, and still be able to fucking stop and frisk people, completely unconstitutional, be able to brutalize people left and right. That's why the CIA is there, in order to help spy on everyone, and then on top of that, in order to, teach them how to brutalize people, as if we're some fucking third world country that Team America is off policing. Not fucking America, okay? This is fucking America, and I'm tired of our protect and serve police acting like we're the fucking enemy. End your goddamn drug war on the people, and then tell us how we're the fucking enemy. It doesn't make any sense.
You're right. It doesn't. It doesn't make any sense. That's why it's coming to a head, because when something that's really dumb no longer makes sense, I mean, that's the only time you're going to get a whole bunch of people to listen. And in this environment that we're in right now, where I am, I mean, the whole legalization process, by the way, just to get back into the, I mean, you can look at it from the micro. So it doesn't matter if you look at it from the micro or the macro. You could go geopolitics, or you could go what's going on just in, here. But for here, the politics of legalization are following this absurd path of gang-related capitalism. And this is the systemic issue in New York. It's a systemic issue in capitalism, per se, worldwide, although many people might be affected on various levels. But here, they were offering people, okay, you can get on the ground floor. This was like 2 years ago, by the way. So we're not in the beginning stages of should we make it legal? No, they've already developed strains of weed that nobody else has. They're already planning to have this,
You're talking
marketing
about
procedure.
The government? Is that what you're talking about?
I wouldn't say government per se. I would say financial, independent financial interests.
Okay,
because Cornell University and Alfred University are, I think, Alfred is a state college, but Cornell is a private college. So whenever you have private colleges like Boston, and I don't care where the colleges are, it's where they can make their deals. If they're privately funded colleges that are experimenting with serious shit, and we have a bunch of those on the East Coast, they can sell their wares wherever they want. But New York State, the thing that they did, they said, okay, if you want to grow weed in New York and we're preparing to make it legal, we need you to show us that you're what you got. And we need you to show us your business sense and all this. And here's the ticket. The ticket is $40,000. So they sold tickets for $40,000 through this process, and everybody has to apply. And this is just the application process.
Yeah.
And it has this disclaimer on it that you can spend $40,000 trying to get just the opportunity to be one of the vendors, and you could waste your money. I think I'm pretty sure that the actual original offering was up to $100,000. In other words, this is a process where it's a step-by-step thing where you have to spend money to be considered a vendor or a viable grower.
You have to have a lot of money to get into the marijuana business right now.
Yeah, this is a highly politicized capitalist process that is going on in New York. And the only reason it's not legalized here yet is because it's like getting a casino license. Getting a casino license requires, if you're not an indigenous tribe or any of these other things, you have to have political clout with connections. You have to have money. You have to have favors. You have to do things. You have to, it's a litany of, steps in a ladder that you have to climb. This is a bureaucratic nightmare of what's going on in New York City. These police departments that are beating the shit out of people for years for stupid shit. The police departments are being pressured and backed with, union contracts. They're backing them with union contracts that contain provisions for them to not be held accountable, because that's their first things. Like, well, if you're going to ask us to do that, we don't want to be held accountable. That's what anybody would say to the requests that are coming in, right? If somebody said, hey, I want you to do this, and it's really going to be nasty, and you could go to prison for it, but we want you to do this because it's going to help us. And you would say, well, I'll tell you what, that's a bullshit request, so I'm just going to say I'll do it, but I don't want to be on the hook for it because it's your request. And they'll say, okay, well, we'll write it into your union contract.
Yeah, look, a lot of this cop.
This is why.
A lot of this cop shit is fucking, nepotism and stuff. My dad was a cop, and now I'm a cop, and and people who seek out a job like that, they don't want to be held accountable. And it's not a matter of, I don't want to be held accountable because I might do this. They don't want to be held accountable because they know they're going to fuck with people. That's part of the reason they seek that kind of power.
I applied to be a cop. I'm like the most liberal anarchist probably that I know for sure, actually, here in my area. I know I'm the most liberal anarchist because nobody will talk to me. If I show up at my town or my county, and I have, by the way, they don't want to talk to me. They try to shut me up as very quickly as possible. But I applied to be a cop. I scored 7 out of 200 without studying and going to college, no school, no classes. I just did it because I said, well, I'm going to go down here and take this test. I want to see what it's all about. The 6 guys that scored ahead of me had taken school for 2 years to take this test. Like they actually, and I said, wow, that's amazing. I thought, well, this is going to be really interesting to see what I get offered. And at the time, my girlfriend was a probation officer who was a violent felony investigator for the court in the county I was in. She was only one of 2. And I said, wow, that's interesting. I'm going to see what happens here. Nothing. I didn't get a single interview. Okay. They profiled me immediately. I didn't get a single interview. Yeah. And I'm just saying, when it comes to New York cops, they are gangs. Okay. Yeah. It literally is a fucking gang.
A criminal gang. Go ahead.
Yeah. And the recidivism is, and for the people that don't know what recidivism is when you hire the children of the parents that already served in that unit.
That's what I said about nepotism, dude. I just said nepotism. There's a fucking ton of nepotism going on.
Yeah, nepotism is different. That's if the father hires the son. Recidivism is if the son gets hired because the father had already served. It doesn't necessarily mean that the father's there. It's recidivism is when it's just a natural process and we have this in our military and our cops all across the nation. This is a major problem, is recidivism, is the people that are trained and the people that seek these jobs are trained by their parents or the previous generation, and they want to be in it for the same reasons that their fathers or other people wanted to be in it. It's an intergenerational recidivism. This is the highest recidivism in the country for the militaries in the South, because they put a real high price on, previous serving and all this. And same thing with the cops in the upper part of the United States, up here in the East Coast, very high. So Boston, New York, Washington, Delaware, all these areas, Detroit, Chicago, these areas, fire departments and the cops, both, the highest rate of joining these organizations, because people know that if you don't have any kind of previous generational belonging to these organizations, they don't really feel like they want to join them. So the recidivism is really high. And what happens because of that is the same intellect that is handed down, the same bias, the same viewpoints, the same geopolitical, mental state is handed down generation to generation, and it exists in the police departments and the fire departments and everything. And there are good people in some of these places, by the way. There are really good ones that benefit from this, but the majority don't benefit from that. It's horrible.
Yeah.
So it's a gang.
Yeah.
It's a gang.
Yeah.
And that's what's happening with the legalization of weed in New York. It's a gang thing.
Yeah.
They got to figure out who's going to make the money, who's going to be growing it, who are we going to let in the gang. And until you get Como, and I like, look, there's aspects of recidivism that are good. Like certain things that, like people know that if somebody's good at something, you want them to be doing it. But if their connections, the connections that they have are bad, but they're good at it, then it becomes like this, it's like this area of angst. And that's what we have in New York. It's constant. It's constant. It's like, yeah, this guy has all the skills, but his connections are really messed up, So it's a constant angst.
Yeah.
It's a constant gang.
Dave, I gotta take a break, Dave. I'm sorry. I need a break. I'll talk to you soon. Okay. Whew. Whew. Wow. Okay. I gotta take a breath. Okay. I have a video here about Kyle Rittenhouse, who is the guy that traveled to go and police an area where there was going to be protesters, BLM protesters. I think he traveled from Illinois to, I can't remember, Michigan or something. And then he shot a person during the protest and killed them. He's now awaiting trial. He's out on bail. And supposedly, in this video, they talk about him being at a bar drinking, which I don't know if you're allowed to drink when you're waiting for trial or not. But because there's rules. But they show him drinking at a bar with friends, and they show him flashing a white power sign. So I thought that that's interesting news that you might not hear around. So I was going to play that for you real quick. And I'm going to heat up the bong, and I'm going to have another bong hit because I really need it at the moment.
All new tonight, the New York Police Department is facing a major lawsuit aimed at officers' conduct during summer protests in the wake of George Floyd's killing in Minnesota.
New information tonight. Prosecutors in Wisconsin released new pictures of Kyle Rittenhouse drinking in a bar. And now they're suggesting they may try to change the rules for his bond. Rittenhouse is accused of shooting and killing 2 protesters and injuring a third this summer during protests over the Jacob Blake shooting. The 18-year-old posed for pictures with several people just hours after he pleaded not guilty in the case. And prosecutors say he appears to be making a hand symbol for white supremacy. They are now asking the court to prohibit him from drinking alcohol or visiting bars. And in Wisconsin, by the way, people under 21 can drink in bars if they're with a parent. Rittenhouse was with his mother at the time.
So, I don't know about that story, but I thought you guys might want to see it. I found it very interesting. So, let's see. I have a bong all heated up and ready to go. It's an okay symbol. It's an okay symbol if you do it once when you're posing for a picture. Somebody says it's an okay symbol when you do it once when you're posing for a picture, okay? When somebody says, hey, you guys ready? And instead of giving them the thumbs up, you go, okay, that's one thing. If you do it in every picture and everybody's doing it, that's not an okay symbol. So you know. That's very different from an okay symbol. I'm almost ready. This bong is very hot. I need to let it cool down just a little bit. Just a little bit. And I don't care what fucking symbols he's flashing. Honestly, I could give a fuck. You know? I know that when we used to make TV, every once in a while, somebody would flash a symbol. It was like a W, and I always, and they would say, oh, that's for Washington. I'm like, yeah, and so I eventually had to eliminate that person from the show, because I don't like the gang symbol shit. I never liked the gang symbol. It's so weird. When everybody first started getting digital cameras, in every fucking post, people were like, you know, I got, oh, look at it. Oh, I got my gang symbol. Oh, you know? And it's like, what the fuck's wrong with you, dude? You know? Don't do that when you're fucking posing with me. That's some bullshit. I don't want fucking that bullshit. I don't want that bullshit in pictures with me. All right, so the numbers are on the screen if anybody wants to call. It's open to anybody. I have, let's see, I have one video left. What do I have? I have video of, about the Flint water circumstance, where there was all the contaminated water, lead in the water, and other chemicals that were hurting people and children. And it appears now that I believe 9 public officials are being held accountable for this crisis, for these people being hurt by, damaged by this. And I thought that that was pretty good. So I have that video coming up for you guys in a minute. I am pretty good right now. I gotta make brownies. I got to make a batch of brownies. I had my last brownie this morning, so I got to go make a batch of brownies. So if you guys want to call, if you want to make this telephone live show happen, then now's your chance. Otherwise, I need to make a batch of brownies. Because if I wake up in the morning and there's no brownies, I am not going to be a happy camper. So a man has got to have priorities, damn it. And that is definitely one of the ones that I have. I really need to start a new batch of butter too. This is my last batch of brownies, my last little bit of butter for this batch of brownies. And I gotta start a batch of butter. Luckily, I happen to have a half pound of weed that's been sitting in the living room for the last 6 months, waiting for me to make butter out of it. Well, it's not really lucky. It's not luckily that I have a half pound of weed. It's I spent months and months growing that weed, and I kind of earned it in that way. So, but I'm glad that it was set aside and ready to make butter out of. Otherwise, I just use the pucks from the flowers that I squash and make the dabs. Make the dabs with the thing and the high pressure and the golden gooey goodness. Don't you know? It leaves marijuana behind when I press that, and I get the lovely high concentrate out of it. Then I take those pucks that are left behind, the marijuana that's left behind, and I put that in the crock pot and make butter out of it. But I have a half pound of weed that's been sitting in the living room for 6 months waiting for me to make butter out of it. I better go do that now. If no one wants to call, like I said. All right, I guess we will play a video, and I will be back in just a minute, And then if we don't have any callers, I'm going to call it a night. So here you go. I have a video, again, about the Flint water crisis and officials being held accountable. Very interesting. I thought it was good news.
And in Michigan, former Governor Rick Snyder and 8 other former state and local officials pleaded not guilty to 42 criminal charges, all related to the deadly water crisis in Flint, Michigan. News Nation's Tim Skubic explains what's next following their indictment.
7 years after it was discovered there was lead in the Flint water supply affecting thousands of families in that town, the state attorney general's office, using a one-person grand jury for 2 years, has charged 9 government workers with a combined 42 counts, ranging from perjury, extortion, involuntary manslaughter, and willful neglect of duty.
When an entire city is victimized by the negligence and indifference of those in power, it deserves an uncompromising investigation that holds to account anyone who is criminally culpable.
Charging 2 misdemeanor counts.
The alleged criminally culpable include former Governor Rick Snyder, facing 2 counts of willful neglect of duty, a misdemeanor with 1 year in jail and/or a $1,000 fine if convicted. But his charges pale compared to the others in his administration. The state's former public health director, Nick Lyon, is facing these charges.
With 9 counts of involuntary manslaughter, for each a 15-year felony, and 1 count of willful neglect of duty.
One of Governor Snyder's closest friends and his top troubleshooter, Rich Baird, faces 1 count of perjury, 1 count of misconduct in office, and
1 count of obstruction of justice, a 5-year felony, for attempting to interfere or influence ongoing legal proceedings related to the Flint water crisis, and 1 count of extortion, a 20-year felony, for threatening a state-appointed research team during their investigation.
Mr. Snyder's chief medical officer, Dr. Eden Wells, also facing 9 counts of involuntary manslaughter and 2 counts of misconduct in office.
The people of Flint continue to suffer from the categorical failure of public officials at all levels of government, who trampled upon their trust and evaded accountability for far too long.
All of the defendants, presumed to be innocent until proven otherwise, were arraigned in court. But the former Wayne County prosecutor, Kim Worthy, and the Solicitor General were prevented by law from discussing the specific evidence that they have on these folks. They simply can't do it. Governor Snyder's Lieutenant Governor Brian Calley asserts that when a prosecutor can't find any legitimate charges, they use willful neglect of duty, which Mr. Calley described as an expletive deleted that starts with bull and, quote, a catch-all.
This case has nothing whatsoever to do with partisanship.
But the state contends none of this was politically motivated. Some of the backers of former Governor Snyder will strongly disagree. Tim Skubic, News Nation.
Let's see. Okay, I'll give you guys another minute. If anybody wants to call, the number's right there, 805-669-6397. Oh, I do have another clip left. I forgot. I have one more clip left. Look at that. I have a clip left about all the National Guard being moved into the Washington, D.C., sleeping in the halls of Congress, all that. I have another video about that. And all the preparations that are being taken. You know, it's weird, this inauguration thing, right? It's like we've never seen, I don't think the country's ever seen an inauguration like this. It seems like the COVID is really convenient at this time, where people are so upset about the election, and they have to have all this security in place for Joe Biden to be able to move into the White House, right? And they can't have any of the normal stuff. They can't do, there can't be a parade there, with people lining the streets. There can't be the parties. There was always all these parties everywhere, right? I mean, giant parties. One of the things that the news would do during the inauguration coverage is that they would go from one party to another and say, "Oh, I'm at the Givenchy party tonight, and here's this celebrity that I'm with," because all the elites go to these parties where they're like, "Yeah, I'm gonna be so rich with this guy as president. I talk to him on email all the time." But since we don't have a caller and I've given you plenty of chances, I want to say thanks very much for tuning in. And we'll do this again tomorrow night. We do this every Monday through Friday, which means we'll be back tomorrow night. Same Mox time, same Mox channel. And until then, stay cool. Because one of these days this war is going to end. And if the people can come together, they will be the victors. Stay cool till then.
No matter which mouth you feed on a two-headed snake, it still shits the same turd. But lucky for you, you have Mox News. More than 10 years. More than 60,000 videos. Mox News has been filtering the nonsense and illuminating the bullshit from your mainstream media. Turn off your TV and turn on to Mox News. For over a decade, documenting the socio-political events that have etched and carved the pathways that define today's modern mess, Mox News has been providing clarity while faithfully bringing you today's relevant stories 100% commercial-free and subscription-free. And just like Lady Liberty vows to remain free. But at this time, we're asking you for your help, your patronage, and your support to keep the lights on and the videos rolling. For less than 17 cents per day, you can become a basic subscriber, knowing that your donation is truly making a difference that will help continue bringing the news stories that make a difference in your life. Turn on, tune in, and drop a couple dimes today by clicking the link below or visiting moxnews.com and show your support at any level. From a single one-time donation or dedicated monthly subscriber, do it now in less than 2 minutes. All donations are safe, securely processed, and verified using PayPal, Visa, MasterCard, American Express, or Discover Card. As always, we're sure you'll find something of interest each and every day. This holiday season, give the gift of Mox. moxnews.com.